Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. And my main man, Mel from the Man Down Sports Podcast, he's coming to join us to talk some NBA. So definitely looking forward to that. But before we get to it, if you haven't already and you're here on YouTube, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you stay up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, please give us that 5-star review, give us that like, and drop us a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And keep in mind, again, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be doing those live shows. You get a chance to call in and interact with me directly. So I love those, and I'm looking forward to more of that. All right, but let's get right to it. So first, let me say this because it must be said. I got to give congrats to LeBron for hitting 40,000 points. Like,
yeah, for sure.
No matter how you feel about a player or whatever a player's career has been, what have you, like, to do something like that is absurd. That's a word I use often, but in this case, it really fits. Like, no one could have ever conceived of a 40,000 point career. Like, that's something that we probably never thought of. Maybe if Wilt had played long enough, he gets there. But on the whole, you know, nobody could have conceived of that. So what an incredible achievement for LeBron, and shout outs to him because, you know, he has put the work in and he's gotten there, and he's won a couple chips along the way too. So credit due for that. So we're going to talk some LeBron since, of course, we're talking about the Lakers. So first thing I wanted to touch on was this, and this is something that's really interesting to me, and maybe you can give me your thoughts on this. Why do you, well, I don't know if you see it. Let me ask you first, do you see it? Do you see it that anyone who is critical of LeBron is like automatically attacked? Like they're a hater, they get attacked, and like people really get up in arms. Like, I say that to say I've never seen a fan base like this. I mean, there's people who are Jordan sycophants, and there's people, Dream is my favorite player of all time. You know, I've had many arguments with my friends trying to, hey, Dream is the greatest big who ever played. I truly believe that. But regardless of any of that, like, I'm not going to go crazy and start calling people out their name and cursing and wilding out and doing all of this. What do you think is behind that?
Well, first, we have seen a fan base like that. They call it the Bayhive. The Beyonce fans are very similar.
I'm in sports, but I got you.
Yeah, some people think Beyonce is a sport, man, but it's just
you wild, bro. You wild.
What do I attribute that to? All right, so a couple of things, right? One, just some very like LeBron is the guy for this generation of new fans in the NBA, right? And just this generation itself is a little different from the generations before them, right? You know, so you know, just how they operate is different. So you know, those fans, you know, are appear to be a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more sensitive, and a little bit more unwilling to take any type of critiques. And they take players and athletes and they become near and dear to their heart to the point where they feel like they need to go online and protect them at all costs from any critique, right?
You know, so, I've said I really think LeBron is sending out, LeBron and Clutch, I think they're sending out $50 checks every week because there's no other explanation. But let me push back on you a little bit with that, right? I don't think it's necessarily generational because there are people who are big fans and huge fans of other players in this generation, but they don't act like this. I think there's something about him. And I'm really curious. I guess I'll never find out, but I wish that there was some explanation that somebody could give me as to why it's like this.
Well, I mean, so the other part to this generation being the way they are is that LeBron has given LeBron and people on huge platforms that support LeBron have given his fans their talking points.
That's true.
There's no other player who has platforms dedicated to providing talking points for you to go out and combat any critique on this player. right? Either LeBron and give it to you, or Nick Wright and Shannon to give it to you, or somebody else on ESPN, right? So like LeBron just recently come out and said that everybody wanted him to fail.
Yeah,
I don't know where that came from, right? So now that's a new narrative for his fans. He almost like signaled them, hey, this is the new narrative. And
my 20-year-old nephew told me that today. He's been the villain since he came in the league. Everybody wanted him to fail. I'm like, bro, first of all, that was 2003. Like you weren't cognizant yet when he came in the league. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. So now he provided them that talking point and that narrative for them to go out and use, or he'll say that one right there made me the GOAT. And now, boom, ESPN said, then valid, because some people might be on the fence of whether they want to use this narrative. And then once they hear Shannon and Nick Wright say it, they'll be like, okay, it's legit now because somebody on TV said it. Now that's a new narrative, a new talking point. Right. That's how easily persuaded people are, right? So that's part of it. And then the other piece of it as well is LeBron does take a lot of daggers. Sometimes he asks for them, but he does take a lot of daggers. So whoever his fans or his supporters are probably are sick and tired of hearing LeBron get what they call attacked so often, to where they feel like I'm going to protect them at all costs.
Got to keep the checks coming.
So, I mean, I think that's what I think it is.
All right. That's fair. All right. So, you mentioned it, in your comments there, but his most recent thing now is, and I really can't believe this, that people wanted to see him fail from the very beginning of his career. And to your point, I have no idea where that's coming from. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I actually was looking up something about that before we got online here. And this is kind of, I'm going to read a little bit of this. So when LeBron James stepped into the NBA, the media was abuzz with anticipation, excitement, and high expectations. His arrival was unprecedented, and he handled the spotlight remarkably well from the very beginning. Throughout his rookie year, he continued to impress, showcasing his immense talent and poise on the court. Fans and analysts recognized that they were witnessing something special. Despite the hype, LeBron's performance in his debut game validated the excitement. At just 18 years old, he scored 25 points, leaving no doubt that he belonged among the league's elite. The media marveled at his skills and potential, setting the stage for a legendary career that would redefine greatness in basketball. Fast forward to today, and LeBron James has become a living legend, achieving milestones like 40,000 career points, a testament to his longevity, commitment, and love for the game. His journey from rookie sensation to all-time great continues to captivate fans and media alike. And I think all that is fair. I do.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, to your point, like, where could it possibly have come from, this narrative that, again, is LeBron being disingenuous? I talk about it all the time. Where did that come from? Like, I'm really, okay, you got to Skip Bayless. All right, cool. But I think he's one of the very few in the sports media who doesn't have LeBron, the mainstream sports media, who doesn't have LeBron like top 3 in their all-time list, and really goes after LeBron every chance they get. So I'm just wondering, where did he get that? Or, to your point, maybe it's more that focus on, okay, let me give them a talking point to further defend me,
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's consciously thinking about, let me provide them a talking point. I just know that's the result of it. I don't know if he's consciously thinking about that. They're doing what I think so every athlete that is as good as LeBron, you have to be very, very sensitive. And that's not a bad word. Like, when people say sensitive, that's not a bad word. Really good players are that good because they're either sensitive, sometimes they might be insecure, and sometimes they feel like they always have something to prove. And that source of sensitivity comes from a lot of players. Like Michael Jordan, the greatest player that we've ever seen play, was very sensitive. He's probably the most sensitive basketball player ever, and people don't look at him like that because well, if you told Michael Jordan he couldn't do something, he wanted to prove you that he could. That's called sensitivity. If you go on national TV as Michael Jordan's best friend, Charles Barkley, and you criticize his performance as a GM or team owner, and you unfriend him for life, that's called being sensitive. If you write in the paper and say the Bulls are down 2-1 and whatever they said in the Cleveland series, and you come back and after you beat Cleveland, you stick it to them. If you get cut from your high school team and the guy that they picked over you, you invite to your Hall of Fame speech so you can belittle him. You are sensitive. If you use that as ammo your whole career, you are sensitive.
Do you think that's sensitivity, or do you think that's like competitive fire?
Sensitivity.
I think Kobe was a psycho like that too. And
if I get hit in this arm, and it doesn't heal, and every time you touch it, that's called sensitive. If every time I push a button or touch you or something, you're sensitive right there. Okay. So every time someone says something to Michael Jordan in a critique format that he doesn't like, he's sensitive. Now, he used that fuel the best way an athlete can use it, but every great athlete has that sensitivity for one reason or another. Right? You get what I'm saying? Like, and they've learned how to channel it to fuel their fire. Right. I like, my mom used to have to work all the time. So my mom seen me play a real basketball game under the whistle once. Right. And I tried to go off that game. Right. But it was and my dad died when I was 8. So he never seen me play.
Okay.
Right. So it was some guys who had their mom and dad in the game. I'm sensitive, and I use that as ammo. I'm going to destroy him in front of his parents because mine's not here. You get what I'm saying? That's called being sensitive, but I used it, I channeled it for a performance, right? So yeah, LeBron is one of those great athletes that is very sensitive, and they will make something up and make it real in their head so they can continue to use it for fuel and fire. I think Shaquille O'Neal did it as well. He made up a story that David Robinson gets him for autograph, and it was not even true.
I read about that. That's crazy.
Not even true.
But do you think, so how I'm looking at this, I'm not saying yay or nay, but do you see the way LeBron is as being different from those other guys? And I get your sensitivity analogy. Do you see it as being different from those other guys though? Because it seems different to me. I'm not sure I can articulate effectively why, but it seems like it's different. What are your thoughts on that?
It's different because we didn't know about Michael Jordan's issues like that until like after his career, or somebody else will mention it. What LeBron is doing is he's inviting the media and the fans, and he's providing it to you. Like when we heard about the Michael Jordan getting cut from his team, that was from media. I don't even know how they found out. They did they did investigation and found this out and came back and gave it to the public. Michael Jordan didn't get on the podium and provide us with this. You get what I'm saying? Like Michael Jordan didn't provide us with the excuses to go and use and create narratives for him. He didn't do that. Now, if he did it behind the scenes, possibly, I don't know. But look, the reason why it's different is LeBron is getting on the podium and saying, that one right there made me the GOAT.
Right.
That was the hardest championship in the history of basketball. Y'all wanted me to fail from the time I got in the league. And he's dropping all these seeds and creating narratives and trying to control the story as a puppet master. That's what makes it different.
Yeah, I've definitely used the term Geppetto in reference to talking about him before. Yeah. Okay. I get that.
But Michael Jordan is definitely the most sensitive athlete of all time. And just because he's the GOAT don't mean we can't be honest about that.
That's interesting. I never saw it that way. I guess that's why, because we never saw him do it in the same way. But I just looked at it like the dude is a total psycho and he's a complete killer. And that's why I saw it as
caused by sensitivity and insecurity. But that's cool. That don't mean soft. Sensitive don't mean soft. It just means you're sensitive in the area.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's definitely a different way to look at it. But yeah, this narrative of everybody wanting him to fail, man, I think that's crazy. And it's also amazing how quickly people will pick up on it. Because like we said, when did we say that? When did he say that? Yesterday, the day before? And it's already been said to me in a basketball discussion. So that's wild. I mean, people jump on this stuff real fast.
Yeah, he know how to use his
platform. He sure does. So back to LeBron on the court. What do you think about what you're seeing? I mean, we're gonna, in fairness, because there's no evidence or nothing that can prove anything. I thought it was interesting, this whole Kevin Garnett comments and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. But just let's assume everything's on the up and up, because again, we have no evidence or information on anything. How amazing is what we're seeing from LeBron and in year 21 at age 39?
It's amazing. I mean, for you
I agree.
to still have that much flexibility and mobility and athleticism at 39, to still be able to run that fast. Now we've seen 39-year, like I think Jordan was in phenomenal shape as a 39-year-old, except for his knee.
Right.
That knee was really failing him. So I think he was in phenomenal shape and could hold up. The only difference between Jordan at 39 and LeBron at 39 is Jordan didn't have a top 3 big man on his team.
Take some of that pressure off.
Helping him out. Like Michael Jordan came to a team that was not a competitor at all, and he willingly joined them just because they was playing so uninspired as basketball players, and he wanted to show them passion. Like he didn't jump on the team to say, "Hey, man, we got a good squad that can win a championship, and the missing pieces is me." He didn't do that. He said, "Man, this team is trash, and y'all playing with no passion. Let me show y'all what passion looks like. If I'm going to own this team at one point, I need players that play with passion. Y'all not even diving on the floor for balls." And he went out there and showed them what passion looks like, right?
Right.
But if he would have did something different, like LeBron did, and said, "Hey, I'm going to show up here, and I want Magic Johnson to come be my GM. And Magic Johnson, I want you to help me go and get the best big man in the league at the time was Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
So who's the best big man in the league right now? Okay, Embiid or Jokic. So if Mike would have, who was the best big man back then? It probably was
2000 Shaq.
Let's exclude Shaq. That's too good. Like let's go below Shaq. What was
Timmy?
Who was it? Probably Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Right. So if he would have came to the Wizards and handpicked the GM and talked to him behind the scenes and said, "I want you to help me go get Tim Duncan," and then Tim Duncan would have said, "Hey, I want you to trade me right now. I'm not playing no more," and forced the Spurs to trade them to the Washington Wizards, and then he would have went and got a great basketball player with a lot left in the tank, like Carmelo Anthony. So that means Mike would have probably went and got Reggie Miller and. You get what I'm saying? Like these are the moves that LeBron made, and people are looking at it and saying, "Oh man, he's giving you 27 points at 39, and MJ was only giving you 20 or whatever or 22." Like, look, dude, he was just out there trying to daggone show passion. He went out there trying to daggone do all what LeBron is doing and compete for a championship and manipulate all these moves. On top of 27 is really the new 20.
Right.
When you look at the scoring burst in this league. So
yeah, that's a great point.
What he's doing is phenomenal. I'm not saying it's unique, like we've never seen it. It just looks different because the circumstances around it is different.
No, I get it. And people forget, as you mentioned, Jordan in Washington, that he was averaging 24, 25 before he had to take some time off in that first year back for the knee. He couldn't keep going. And people also forget that he had the Wizards, I think, in the 5th seed in the East. So they were in legitimate playoff contention. So people always like to talk about, Jordan's time in Washington, he didn't context. But it's funny how context only works when, it's talking about their guy, LeBron. But no, it really is incredible what LeBron is doing to this point at this age. And that's a lot of miles on those legs. And he's still getting up and down. That said, the only thing I thought about, and again, this is not to take away anything from what he's doing, his longevity, the work he's put in on his body, absolutely incredible. However, with the rules changes taking place right around the time that he came into the league, so I'll say this, the other guys that played, 20 plus years, your Kevin Willis's and your Robert Parrish's and your Vince Carter's and such, and of course, Kobe, those guys took legitimate physical, Karl Malone, I think 19 years. Those guys took legitimate physical pounding for all those years. And while LeBron got a lot of wear on the legs, he didn't have to take the physical beating that those other guys took. And I think to some extent that helps in his ability to still be able to play at this high level. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's probably, it's too many factors, man. Like the pinpoint, it's too many factors. It's a different era, a different style of play. It's not having a mentality to play 82 games every year.
That's true too. Mike did that in his final year.
Yeah, Mike.
Bad knees, yeah.
Mike played a lot of 82 game seasons, so did Karl Malone, so did John Stockton, so it was a different mentality, and LeBron started out playing, 75, 78 games, but, toward his second stint in Cleveland, he started, doing some load management and stuff like that. So, so that's a factor. The fact that LeBron James is just built different than everybody, you got to give him credit for winning the genetic lottery.
Well, not just that, but besides winning the genetic lottery is the work that he's put in on his body all this time. So absolutely credit where it's due.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's a gym rat. He's not shying away from the gym and all of that stuff. So all of that is a factor, and I don't think none of it is like a majority factor. Like they're all somewhere close to equal pieces of being a factor of what we're seeing like today.
So another thing, this is more between the lines when it comes to LeBron, and this is something I've noticed, is that most guys, as their athleticism wanes, their skill set increases, right? Because obviously you have the knowledge and you have to develop different things, because you can't just blow past guys and rise up over them every play like you used to be able to. And so I've noticed with LeBron shooting almost 40% from three this year. His mid-range jumper looks a lot better. So I'm curious, what's your thoughts on why it took so long for him to develop a little bit more skill work in his game? I mean, is it more to the point of what I was just talking about in terms of the physicality has waned some? I mean, again, we probably haven't seen a guy who can do what he can do at age 39 in year 21. But at the same time, like, shouldn't he have been developing this stuff a lot sooner?
Sure. I mean, but so two things to that. Number one is repetition. So after 20 years of playing, he wasn't relying on the mid-range a lot. So he shot less of it, right? Sure. So now that he has to somewhat rely on it, that means he's shooting more of it, right? So, I mean, you're only going to get better the more you do something, right? So that'll help your percentages as well. But also, Shaquille O'Neal said something in an interview when Kobe would complain about him not coming into training camp in shape. And his mindset, and this is his honest to God truth, this is one of the NBA's greats. His mindset was, I'm 7'1", 300 over 300 pounds. Who am I getting in shape for? Like it don't matter if I'm fat or in shape. Nobody's going to be able to stop me. All I got to do is get the ball on the post, one dribble, and you can't.
I'm gonna put you in the rim.
I'm gonna put you in the rim. So he was in his mind. He was like, man, if as long as I'm the apex predator physically, I don't need a high level of skill. That's no. I mean, it's no, because if he was as skilled as Hakeem Olajuwon, his fadeaway would still not be his option number one when he's 7'1", 300 plus pounds moving. That, you know what I'm saying? I'm still gonna put you in the rim. Why would I fade away when I can put you in the rim? Right. So if that's what I'm going to almost every single time, what else you want me to work on? So LeBron was that same way. He was the apex predator physically. As far as perimeter players, he was the Shaq on the perimeter. If you can't stop me from getting to the rim, what do I need all this middle game for that Kobe got? What do I need all that for? Right. So, and probably he was 95% of the league was not going to stop him from getting to the league unless you to the rim, unless you double. And when you double, he kicks into his other A+ game, which is his passing. So that was his whole game. Either I'm getting to the rim and you can't stop me, or you double me and I go to my other superpower, which is passing. That's the whole game for him. Why deviate from that? So that's, now that he's not the apex to be able to do that no more, unless you let him get away with offensive fouls like they do Giannis. He still don't need to develop that stuff. But if they're going to call the game a certain way, then he's probably going to need that mid game. So he's picking it up a little bit. That's all it is.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to leave it right there, man. Mel, as always, man, great insight. Definitely appreciate what you bring. Before I let you get out of here, man, tell the people where they can find you.
Man Down Podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. Man Down Sports on YouTube. Man Down Sports on IG as well. Just find me on all those things right there.
Yeah. Listen, y'all. Really entertaining show. Entertaining. You get some good information. You would get definitely some perspectives that you wouldn't normally hear. I wouldn't endorse it if it wasn't legit. So, check them out. And again, if you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you click that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. It really helps us out. And remember, next live show is Saturday night at 7. So see you there. And I'm out. Peace.